working on a new Vision InfoSoft software project together, and we thought, hey, let's host a webinar together again. So here we are, and today we're covering some material pricing strategies for your bids that include sourcing pricing from the internet, using Google or other services, and other data services that you might use, and how you can update your pricing in your either your estimating software, or however, whatever you're using to create bids. I'd like to touch on a few things real quick. One is how you can ask us questions. If you're using YouTube or you're watching us here on YouTube, you can ask questions in the chat off to the right. Otherwise, feel free to make comments if you're watching us in the future as a recording underneath the video, and we see those and respond to them usually the same day or as soon as possible. What else is there to cover here? I think that about covers. Oh, like and subscribe down below our video. We always welcome that. And now I think we can jump into our presentation.
I think we're ready.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've noticed, especially over the last year or two, is that everybody is getting in the habit of looking up prices on Google. Then there's some pros and cons to doing that, and that's what I want to discuss here today. Where was I going with that? Lost my train of thought there. So what I want to talk about here today is how to do that, how to evaluate the prices you're getting on Google, and also for the EBM electrical bid manager users, electrical bid manager users. Geez.
You got it.
How to incorporate those items into your bid. You can make them temporary items just for the job, or I'm going to show you also how to make them permanent items in your database. So again, one of the things everybody does is look up prices on the internet. And one of the things I notice more and more is that the pricing is very inconsistent and to some extent unreliable. You're going to see a wide range of prices. How do you know which of those prices is realistic or accurate or something that you should use in your estimate? So when you look up prices on the internet, you really don't have any way to analyze those prices. Another option is to call a supplier or email your supplier. Now he's going to give you the price of what it's going to cost, obviously, but sometimes that's a time you don't have to do. And again, you're only getting pricing from one supplier, so that's a limitation there. And then finally, you can look up the item in Epic. That's what I want to focus on today, because Epic gives you a viable comparison to what you're getting from other sources, whether it's Google or whether it's your supplier. So that's the main thing we're going to talk about here today, is how to find the items in Epic. There's really two strategies here. Let me go back one. When you look up items in Epic, let me go to the Epic screen here. Unless you're looking up a commodity like conduit or wire or something really generic like that, you really need a catalog number to find an item quickly and efficiently in Epic. So how do we get the catalog number? Well, sometimes on the drawings or in the specs, they provide the manufacturer and the catalog number. That makes it pretty straightforward. So if I know the manufacturer, for example, I'm looking for a time clock and it's Intermatic. This is a similar example I use in a lot of the training classes. We can go to the little tab with the eye. You double click on Intermatic, and Epic brings up the entire Epic product, Intermatic product line. If you look down here at the bottom, there's over 1,100 items here. Now, obviously, I don't want to scroll through this list to try to find an item. That would be a pretty clumsy way to do it. So you have some lookup tools on the left on Epic here, and the one we're going to use is the catalog number lookup. So I'm going to type in the catalog number. Again, I would get this from the drawing. You could even usually copy and paste it from your drawings if you've got PDF files. So I'm just going to type it in. E like Edward, T like Tom, and I'm going to put an 8 there. Now, the nice thing about when you're typing in catalog numbers, as opposed to later I'll show you how to paste them in, is by the time you get to the second or third character, you've got a pretty short list here. You don't have to type the entire catalog number in. So let's say the one I'm looking for is this ET8125CR, okay? So I could bring that item into EBM. Before we do that, let's just do a little bit of comparison on the internet to see what pricing I would get if I typed that into a Google search. So I'm going to switch back to Google here. Now I'm going to start new search here. So I'm going to type in Intermatic. Oops, there we go. And I was looking for an ET8 215CR. And tell it to search. So here it finds a whole bunch of options here. And you can see that prices vary quite a bit. Now, if I flip back to Epic real quick, it's this target price here that we're really trying to narrow it down to, because that's what I'm going to use in my bid. The target price is based on what a national average of what a contractor would pay for at their local wholesaler. Now, typically, it's got a little bit of cushion built in there. You know, you're not going to have to do a lot of negotiating. You got to be able to get that price pretty readily. But that 254, again, compare it to some of the numbers that came up. If you've looked in the internet, I don't see a Grainger option here, but Grainger comes up a lot. There's some Home Depot, there's Grainger. And that's not exactly the right catalog number. If you look at here, that's not the same item. So that's what you got to be careful too when you're doing a Google search. It sometimes expands the search beyond what you actually type in. And everybody's pretty familiar with that. So you got to make sure you're comparing apples and apples. But that price in Epic, again, you can bring it into your job and use it in your estimate. So all you have to do in EBM is this. Let's go back to EBM. Initially, we're going to bring this in as a temporary item. So you come down here to Other Takeoff, and you go to Temporary Miscellaneous. And I'm going to add an item. There's an Add button over here at the right. Just hit OK. And then to import, to grab an item out of Epic, there's a little button down here that says Import. I've already found the item, so I'm going to hit from the toolbar at the top. There's a little button called Item Export. And there it is. Brings in the description. It brings in the pricing. At this point, if you don't put a labor value in, it'll ask you to do it later. I'm going to show you a little tip on a couple options on that. But that's the basic idea. You go to add an item, you tell it to import, grab the item and bring it back. And then when you hit OK, it'll say how many of these do you want. Okay, let me show you a couple examples now. What do we do when we don't have a catalog number? This is probably the thing I've seen people doing the most lately because, and I don't care whether your database has 2,000, 20,000, or 220 million items, there's going to be things that come up. You can't find them in your system or they're just not there. So when I do a search in Google, this time I'm going to type in something real generic, Lutron occupancy. Come on.
Use the auto.
Yeah, I was trying not to cheat. So here's a whole bunch of Lutron occupancy sensors. Some of them are ceiling, some of them are wall. That's the more typical type. Again, the main reason I'm here is to grab the catalog number. So we'll just click on this first one, for example. Amazon's getting pretty good about getting into the Google searches these days, but this is the catalog number I want. This MS here, I don't need the last part, that's the color. This OPS2HW, that's the catalog number. Depending on the website, the catalog number will be in various locations. So I'm going to copy that catalog number to my clipboard. So now I go back to EBM. Again, we hit add. We hit OK to import, or to add an item. Import down at the bottom. And now I can typically just ignore the whole issue of the manufacturer because most catalog numbers are unique. They don't, the same manufacturers, different manufacturers don't use the same catalog for the most part. So I pasted it in here at the bottom. There it is here. It's just, depending on the packaging or the color, it's either a $17 or $18 item. If you look at the target price over here, I'm going to take the first one, export it back to my job as a temporary item. And there it is. Again, the target price is what we typically use for bidding. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to put in 5 of those. Okay. Let me give you just a couple more quick examples. Here's one I use in the training all the time because the first time somebody asked me about this, I didn't know exactly what they were talking about. They were looking for an audio-visual back box. Now, that could mean a lot of things. There's some, some different things. So the first thing I did again was go to search. Why did it go there? I'll just start a new lookup, and I type in action. And this time I'm going to put the brand. That always helps limit what you get for results if you put the brand that you think you're looking for. So I'm going to type in Arlington. You can see it's coming up in my search because I did it recently. So there's an Arlington audio visual back box. You can see there's a few different things that brought up here. This is a pretty typical one. Again, it's on Amazon. Was there one from Grainger here? I don't see one. Grainger does pop up a lot, and I'm sure if you've looked at Grainger pricing, there's Gordon. That's another one that comes up quite a bit. Their prices are usually a little bit higher than they need to be. But again, if we click on this item, we can go get the catalog number. So I'm going to grab this number right here, TV BU810. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back to EBM. And I'm still in the temporary miscellaneous takeoff. So I'm going to add an item. We'll talk about making them permanent in just a minute. After you hit OK, you hit import. We go to look up by catalog number, paste it in, and there it is. Now this is a good example because the price here looks a little bit crazy if you don't pay attention to the unit of measure. This is $3,100 per 100, so that's a $31 item. If we flip back to the Amazon page, it was $50. Now, if you just need one or two of them and you need them overnight, I guess that's not the end of the world. But maybe I need 200 of those and I'm going to put it into an apartment or an office complex. It could make a difference. So again, we're going to export it. Hit OK. And we'll put in 5 of those. I've got one more example. This is kind of one that I've used a lot in class when I teach people how to do a takeoff. One of the items on my little practice job is a lighting contactor, but it's not your everyday lighting contactor. So I'm going to go here to search. I'll just open up a new browser again. It's 30 amp, and it's a 6-pole lighting contactor. So we're thinking, well, why can't I find that item in EBM? Let's go back there for just a second. Did I get sometimes the spaces and characters make a difference. We'll come back here in just a second. So let's go to miscellaneous takeoff and let's search for lighting contactors. I've already got it typed in here. So it's got some choices here. When I go to lighting contactors, I can go to 30 amp. But right now we've only got 2-pole, 3-pole, and 4-pole. So this isn't going to work. For now, I'm going to put it in as a temporary item. I'm going to add. And again, we're going to hit import. When we go to Epic, we go to look up by catalog number. Oh, I didn't put the catalog number in yet. Got ahead of myself, sorry. Okay, so we're searching for the 6-pole lighting contactor. And there's a square D one. I'm going to click on it. Let's use the Grainger one just because I know their price is going to be high. And you got to make sure you've got the same catalog number when you're comparing different pricing options here. But this is the one I'm going to use. Now, Grainger makes it really easy on the catalog number. It's this model number right here. So I'm going to grab that and copy it to the clipboard. You can right-click and hit copy, or you can just hit Control-C. So I've got my catalog number. I go back into Epic, look up my catalog number, paste it in right here. There it is. So that $641 price is a couple $100 lower than Grainger. I think it was pretty close to the other ones. But again, this gives you a much more reliable, viable number for your estimate. I'm going to export it. Going to hit OK. And I'll put one of those into my estimate here. So these are all temporary items. Now, if I want to make an item permanent that I've already imported, I can just go to, let's go to this time clock here. I'm going to right click and hit edit. And I'm going to copy the item to the clipboard. So now I have to decide where to put it. So I'm going to go to my database, or I can go to miscellaneous takeoff. It kind of doesn't matter. And I'm going to go down to miscellaneous items because I know I've got a folder here for time clocks. And this is an electronic one. So I'm going to add, going to hit OK. And then I'm going to hit recall. So I've got this item in my EBM clipboard, if you will. So I just hit recall at the bottom, and there it is. Mm-hmm. Now you can get even a little bit more sophisticated about it. Let's say I know that the labor unit on this item is similar to one I've already got in my database. I can edit it. I can come down here to the bottom where it says copy labor. Go to miscellaneous items, go to time clocks, go to electronic, and I'm going to copy the labor from this first one. And it fills all the labor units in, including the NECA labor unit on column 3. So you can copy an item and bring it into the database. The only thing that's a little more challenging when you're putting items into the database permanently is where do you put them? You know, sometimes that takes a little more thought and effort to decide a good place to put it. But you can always move it later. If I decided it should be in a different place, I can cut and paste it to a different location. I can even delete it, but really not too much reason to do that. So EBM not only gives you the ability to import items from Epic that you've found on the internet, but if you think you want to make them permanent, that's an option too. It's another step because when you bring in a temporary item, it assumes they're temporary. If you want to make it permanent, you copy it, put it somewhere where you're going to find it in the future. Okay. I think that's really...
Did you already cover all that?
Yep, that was all that. We covered exporting to EBM. Let's go to the next slide here. So again, the whole idea is if you're going to bring an item in from Epic that you've found on the internet is to create a temporary item. You can look it up by catalog number. That's what we did the first example with the intermatic time clock, that we had a catalog number already provided. If you don't have a catalog number, go into use your browser to find the catalog number. And then you can go look it up in Epic and bring it into your database or bring it into as a temporary item.
Right. And to circle back on our webinar title of Stop Relying on Google, I guess we're not really saying, I guess that's stop relying on them for the price.
Right.
But it's still a useful resource.
Absolutely. It's a great use source to find options, what products are out there, and to get some additional information on who you can buy them from. But before you make that decision, especially if it's a significant part of your bid, do some comparison. You know, it's even better sometimes than calling 3 suppliers. How long is that going to take to get a quote on a $300 time clock from 2 or 3 suppliers? That's a lot of effort, and you just need something to plug into your bid.
All right. I think that covered it all.
Pretty much it.
If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the chat or in the comment section below the video. Just want to remind everyone that to please like and subscribe this video. It helps us get out in front of more electrical estimators and contractors or electricians that are looking to get into estimating. I know our audience has eclipsed 4,000 now, 4,000 subscribers. We're getting about 1,000 new subscribers a year, which is great. It's great to see that growth and to see that we're able to get in front of more people and help more people build their estimating skills. Hey, Brent, thanks. You're welcome. what else do we have coming up? Do you want to touch on anything more? Or?
Well, we just passed our trade shows
Yeah.
season, and unfortunately, one of the two trade shows, the major national trade shows we go to, got canceled. So that was a little disappointing. But we had the NECA, National Electrical Contractors Trade Show, was a few weeks ago here in San Diego. So next year it's going to Chicago. That'll be in the fall, and then the other IEC trade show will be in the fall, and I'm not remembering where that is.
I'm not remembering either. It's not in Florida. I remember that.
No.
But yeah, so if you have any questions, call us, email us. The sales at vision.infosoft.com is a great email, because there's a group of us that get that and can address any questions, or visit us on the web. There's a lot to learn there. I can't really think of anything else other than we do host training. If you are a Vision InfoSoft software user, especially our electrical bid manager software, Brian is the instructor, and we host it nearly every month, an online classroom. So have a look at that on our website.
A couple options there. We do one-on-one training on the internet. You can schedule a couple of hours with me one-on-one. Or we have what we call a virtual classroom, where there might be anywhere from 3, 4, 5 different companies in at the same time. But it's hands-on. You're running the software. You're not watching somebody do a presentation or watching a video. You're actually running the software. And we have a software program that allows me to see everybody's screen, whether it's a one-on-one session or in a classroom with 5 or 6 people. I can see everybody's screen. You've got an audio capability to ask questions anytime you want, and that's a pretty effective. We've been doing that for about 3 or 4 years now, something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty nice option.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining.